Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to episode 101 of Making the Case for Your Lawyer Dreams, where, of course, we share you tips, gems, and resources to help you navigate your lawyer journey. We know out there, you guys, this journey is definitely one that ain't for the weak. All gas, no brakes. Congratulations, Darnell, getting into the Drexel. Love it. Holler at me so we can try to get you more money in your awards letter. Our goal, of course, is to help you take the next step in your journey. Understanding that the hardships that you're currently going through, you're going to make it. Why? Because you're built for this. Why? Because you had that dream for a reason. And you know what? We're not stopping until we achieve it. Each Wednesday, we have guests coming from all over the country. Lawyers, judges, admissions experts, all designed to share their stories and also to provide you guys with the tips and motivations to win where they won, to avoid the mistakes that they had to overcome. Because at the end of the day, this journey to becoming an attorney is hard. But you know what? You're not alone. You got people praying for you. You got people rooting for you. You got a whole community in BecomingJD that's waiting to give you the tips, skills, and gems you need to be successful. Let us know where you're viewing our session from. Of course, I'm holding it down in St. Louis, Missouri. It's not the place where I want to be, not at all. But it's the place where God has me. Let us know in the chat where you're viewing our session from. I love this vibe right here we got, right? We have an amazing guest coming on tonight. Her name is attorney Samantha Fitzpatrick, president of the Black Bar Association in Philadelphia. She's going to be sharing her story. And you know what? Let's go ahead and stay tuned and lock in. Peace and blessings. Let's get her on. We got Florida in the house, wherever you were at. We'll cut off the instrumentals. We got Florida in the house. We got Houston, Texas in the house. And, of course, we got Philly in the house. What's up?
Hey,
How you doing?
what's going on, family? I'm doing well. How are you?
I am blessed. Now, of course, I got to ask this question. It's random, but we over here in the Midwest having cold, freezing days, sunny days. I mean, I don't even know what it's going to be every day. How is it
Yes.
up there in Philly?
So it's cold. It's been rainy the last couple of days. We got some heavy rain about 2-3 days straight, and then we just got a little bit of a let up today, and it was sunny, but it was only 40 degrees outside. So as soon as you open the door, you knew it wasn't for real. Funny thing is, I'm actually from the Midwest, so I'm from Detroit originally. I'm a Philadelphia transplant, and
Okay.
I've been here about guess about 14 years now. I moved out here in 2012 for college and kind of did the back and forth thing for a little while. And then after law school, ended up planted right here.
Absolutely. Well, sis, one thing I tell people, one thing when the weather is bad, it is so much easier to lock in and get focused. You get
That's
so
true.
much done. We
Very
we
true.
we, we door dashing and we staying inside. No excuses. But nevertheless,
Look,
sis, I'm so happy to be able to have you here. First, I want to thank you for taking the time to speak with us. And before we start anything, of course, I want to give you the floor to introduce yourself, let people know who you are, what you're doing, and we get into how we got there.
all right, for sure. Good evening, everyone. I am Samantha Fitzpatrick. I currently serve as president of the Barristers Association of Philadelphia, which is our local affiliate of the National Bar Association, which is the organization put together for Black lawyers. In case you didn't know, now you need to know. So, it is such an honor and such a privilege to hold that position. I do have a day job, but I mean, really, it's not that deep. I'm an in-house attorney for Watermark Retirement Communities, which is a senior living company. So we have 26 or so communities across the country. I work remotely here based in Philly.
Ooh, she said remotely, y'all. That
It's
means
nice until you still
pajamas.
working at 9 o'clock at night. It's real nice until you working
I
at
love
nine
it.
o'clock.
I
Like,
love it.
dang, I ain't moved.
And for you guys out there, I want to make sure that you guys lock in. Understand the struggles and challenges that you may be going through. We're about to hear from Sis how she overcame them. So don't think
Right.
because it's hard, y'all, that means it can't be done. No, it just means that you got to grow. It just means you got to get out of your comfort zone. It means you just got to be able to look at yourself and be like, damn, I got to do better. Right?
Yeah.
So I always love to start by asking this one question. I'm going to show my grades when I ask this question, but it's going to go anyway. And I always love to ask you guys, when did you fall in love with law? Because we don't do this, Joan. It takes us a long time for we ever get paid for it. And we just be going through the firing squad for a minute, but we only do it because we love it.
When did I fall in love with law as a career or as a like in principle? Like when did I
And
fall in love with the law
I
in
love it. Like
principle?
when it's like, man, this is something I want to do. This is something that I'm willing to pay
Okay.
for and miss nights for and sacrifice for and go and crazy for before I even get paid for, you know?
You know what's crazy? You know what's crazy, brother? I'd never really entertained the thought of loving it. I went to law school, and my classmates from law school will tell you this because I used to tell them this when I was at the schoolhouse. I said, "Look, I am here because I grew up poor, and I have no desire to remain that way. So I'm here with you to do this thing." And I went to Villanova for law school. So those of you who may not be familiar with Villanova, they are colloquially called Vanilla Nova, and I came from an HBCU. So when I told my classmates at my HBCU, hey, I'm about to go to Villanova, they all looked at me like, you sure? And I surely showed up at Villanova like, hello, I'm Samantha, I'm Black. We're going to get over that right now. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm here because I don't want to be poor. I have no interest in playing games with you. I will not be poor. So I think I don't know that I ever would say I fell in love with the law as a concept. I fell in love with the opportunity that the law could provide me. And because of the opportunity it could provide me, I was willing to sacrifice whatever I had to sacrifice in order to have that opportunity. I wanted that opportunity more than I wanted anything else. Now, I ain't going to sit here and play with you like I'm a big law lawyer. I ain't got that life. That ain't my lifestyle. But I haven't had to worry about a utility bill being paid by the grace of God. You know what I mean? And that in and of itself is enough for me. That's okay with me.
And just hearing you say that, it made me realize, you know what, sis? We part of the same club. I call it the Can't Go Back crew. And what I mean by that is because we knew where we came from, and
Mm-hmm.
we knew that literally going back, there was nothing there for us. And so, literally, how do you do it? Because I ain't got no choice.
Exactly.
How you
Exactly.
staying up all night? Because ain't nothing back there. I done invested so much time. I done invested so much in the energy and money I ain't got. So
Mm-hmm.
I gotta keep going forward.
Yeah. Failure is not an option. Even if it looks like I failed, I can't let that be the final say. I got to do something else. I
Hold
got
on,
to
you
talk
gotta
to
say that one more
somebody.
time. Failure is what?
Failure cannot be the final stop. So even if it looks like, oh, you know what, I ain't gonna hold y'all, right? And I hope none of my law school classmates are watching this. Um, my first year of law school, I got an abysmal grade on one of my final exams. Abysmal. And you know, 1L finals, that is not the time to flop. That is
No,
just not
no,
it.
no, no, no.
I went to my professor's office to postmortem the exam. I said, Professor, here's my exam. What happened? And she said, I don't know. You tell me. I said, that's a good question, sis. I don't know. I thought I tried. Clearly, the grade reflects that I did not. She said, honestly, Samantha, I could tell that you knew what you were trying to say, but like if you were anybody else, I probably wouldn't have been able to pass you. But because of your involvement in the class, I was able to give you at least a passing grade. And it said a lot to me in that moment about using the tools you have available to you to make the impact that you can when you can. I am my best on my feet. I am my best in the classroom. Cold call me, hit me with it right now. I got you. But if you asked me in my first year of law school, especially, to write it out, I was struggling. I was struggling so badly. And so, of course, next semester, 2L year, I spent a lot of time with my writing professor to try to improve that and to work on those things. Every summer opportunity, every externship, I asked for a writing assignment and asked for like intensive critique of that assignment because I was like, this is not going to get better if I just sit here and let it sit. All these years later, I've been diagnosed with ADHD. And
Oh, you too? Me too. We
in
got that
hindsight,
superpower.
I'm like, oh, that's probably why I was fighting so hard to read those assignments. I just never knew. Because for a lot of us, academically, school kind of comes naturally for a while, and then it just doesn't one day. One day it just doesn't feel natural anymore. And that's what happened when I got to law school. That was the first time that like school didn't feel natural. I tried to do they say people who work before law school do better because they had the experience of sitting still for 8 hours. So I tried to do that. I tried to like go to the library and sit still for 8 hours. But if you got ADHD, that doesn't work because the library doesn't change. It's the same building every day. There's no novelty, there's no excitement. And so it took a lot for me to try to work around it before I had a diagnosis. And in hindsight, I'm like, man, I wish I would have had the foresight to talk to somebody, to talk to a professional sooner. So I will say that that's my one piece of advice. If you feel like you're struggling, forget what your parents have told you. Forget what our culture in particular has a nasty habit of
That
being like,
part.
oh, you smart, ain't nothing wrong with you. Baby, it's not that it's something wrong with you. You just a little different, and that's okay. You need to more than it's not about taking medication. It's not about any of that. It's about being able to work around your brain and the way that your brain works. And you need to understand it in order to do that. So that's a huge piece of advice I have for folks.
I mean, you talking to your ADHD brother right over here too. And I want you guys out there to be able to realize that really, and I'm sure you guys can look in the news, look on streams, and see so many lawyers and say to yourself, how the hell they become a lawyer? How the hell they pass the bar? How the hell do they get through? I'm smarter than them. Well, really, the whole key, and you tell me, and just what you're talking about, is learning the importance of being able to ask for help. And I think one of the biggest struggles, and I think for wherever you are in your journey, you guys, that could be you struggling right now. You just got your 1L grades, and now you praying to God Almighty about how we gonna survive this next semester. Or if you're, a pre-law student right now, for most of us, we've never had to ask for help for
Mm-hmm.
anything. And so
Mm-hmm.
now it's like, hold on, the way I've been doing it, been working forever. Now it's not working.
Yeah.
And that's where that wake up call comes. So sis talked about her wake up call when the professor was like, yo, you tell me what you did wrong. And really, this process is so much about us learning about ourselves, learning
Mm-hmm.
how we think, learning how we process, and being able to own it and not really trying to follow the crowd. Now, one of the things I also love enjoying about asking you guys about it specifically, you already kind of shared it, but I want to know, when was that moment in law school when you realized I could do this shit? Like, yeah, it's hard, but I got it. And I feel like once you get that confidence, it's unshakable. It's like I figured out my system. I figured
Mm-hmm.
out what I have to do.
I would say it was when I started to hit a groove and I was able to actually I was able to complete assignments. I was able to kind of move from thing one to thing two. In our, I guess it was 2L year, we started picking up like externship opportunities. So now I'm going to work 2 days a week. So now I have to plan around, okay, I got work these days, I have these assignments, I have this time to work with. When I started blocking out my schedule and people around me were looking at me like, wow, that's really impressive that you have but like the time block schedule is ingenious to this day. It is how I get things done. If I don't block time for it, I can't say that I'm gonna do it.
I'm the same.
And it was when I started to feel like, okay, I have control of this. I have command of what's happening in front of me. Now, ironically, right when that happened, so I guess it was toward the middle of my 2L year. At the end of my 2L year, while very much still a law student, my mother, God rest her soul, decided to up and leave me. So I lost my mother at the end of my 12 year. The morning of my evidence exam, I get the
Oh
call
no.
saying, "Hey, you gotta come to the house because mom has passed." We had moved her to Philadelphia to be with us because my older brother is already here. He's also a practicing attorney. Um, so we moved her here to be in Philadelphia with us, and she was here about 10 days. But of course, my mother didn't want to be a burden and decided to go home to be with the Lord. So it was a little bit of both. It was both, I have command of this, I can manage these things, and it was a blessing that it happened when it did, because then I lost my mother and I had to go to the law school and tell them, hey, don't expect me to do nothing for about
Yeah.
3-4 weeks, and then I'm gonna get back into it. And I was able to do that. I was able to kind of regain my footing after the fact and say, all right, cool. Tragic loss, really painful. My mother had been sick. She had breast cancer. So we knew that she was sick, but it's your mama. That never
Yeah.
feels good and it's never easy. But I was able to kind of bounce back because I had gotten into that rhythm. And so when I felt lost, it was like, all right, go back to what you know. Go back to your blocks. What do you need to get done? What assignments need to get done? I was working on a big research assignment. How can I get this research done? How can I get this writing done? And it really was critical. So once you find that groove, the advice is find that groove. Once you find that groove, remember where it is. Don't lose it. And then even if you get thrown off, you're always able to come back to your groove. You're able to say, this is my jam, this is how I do it. But it's all to what you were saying about learning yourself, learning how you do it. It's a marathon, not a sprint, and everybody has to run their own race. You can't, no two people can do the exact same thing and it work out the exact same way.
First, I gotta say I'm sorry for your loss, but I also want to ask you this question because on this journey, life be life for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm asking this question because I want people who may be going through similar circumstances. Because I have clients who have lost grandmothers, lost grandfathers. When it came to you making that choice, do I take a leave of absence or do I stay in school? What advice would you give to someone who's in the midst of their journey trying to make that choice? Do I go ahead and apply or do I take a leave of absence if
Mm-hmm.
I'm in school or do I, take some time for myself?
I would say, so my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer my sophomore year of college. So we had known that she was sick. We had done the chemo, the radiation, all of that stuff. And when I got to the end of my senior year, I said, Mom, maybe I'll take a gap year. Maybe I'll move back to Detroit. And my mom was very much team, you can't come back. Like, you
Because you
can
won't
come
come
back.
back. Yeah,
Like,
you
you're
won't
welcome
come
to
back.
come back home to me. But if it's my choice, you don't come back to Detroit. So my mother was like, nope, no, no, I don't think you need a gap year. I don't think you need to do any of that. I think you're going to go to law school. That's what you're going to do. That's what you said you're going to do. You're going to go to law school. I said, okay, well, maybe I'll do like a 1 year master's degree program. My older brother, who was already practicing, my brother is 16 years my senior, so he had been practicing for a while. He said, anything you can do with a master's, you can do with a law degree. You will be going to law school. So I was out of choices. And when my mother passed, what I knew was my mother passed in May. And I could hear my mother's voice in my ears. She said, baby, when I die, my mother was a minister. So everything came back to the church. She said, baby, when I die, I said, I want you to come to the church. I want you to say she loved God. She loved God's people. Then I want you to go down to the fellowship hall, eat the chicken, drink the cokes, and go on home. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. You do what you got to do. So I did not question for a minute whether or not I was supposed to stay in school, whether I was supposed to finish. In my mind, a leave of absence was the kiss of death. You
Yeah.
don't take a break. You don't stop. You run as hard as you can until you're absolutely winded. And I would tell anyone, if you think you can, if you even like think that I might be able to, just go ahead and keep going. Just go and keep going. There's no sense in stopping. Unless you have a financial barrier or an actually insurmountable, you have to stop school because you have to take care of your parent or you have to take care of a child or you need to be somewhere else. And there's just no possible way. But I mean, now everything is halfway virtual, halfway remote. So
Hmm.
is there really no way? Call that school, tell that administrator, hey, look, I would love to stay. Unfortunately, I have X, Y, and Z things that I need to tend to. Is there any way the school can accommodate me? But don't give up on yourself if they're not giving up on you. Because as long as you're willing to bet on yourself, everybody else will get on the team. Everybody else has to believe you. If I say I can do it, everyone else has to believe me because they can't prove that I can't.
I love it. I love it. Y'all got that? You get the answer. You need it. All right. Now, one of the things is I love being able, I feel like we go through so many growths and transformations in law school. We go from, I think like on the first day, we over here dressing like we on a Sunday best. Then after that, we done went to the hoodies and sweats, only showing up when the interviewers are there, where you barely recognize people. Like, oh, dang, that's how you look when you clean up. All right. And then we return back to that grind when we're doing the bar exam. And so I
Mm-hmm.
want people to hear about the bar, but I love for you guys to be able to share your experience with it. I don't want to try to bring back those traumas from the past, but I love
It's
being
all
able to
good.
share you guys' stories about how that experience was and how it made it so rewarding when you got that bar acceptance. I want to know where you were and how
Absolutely.
it happened. Go ahead and spill that.
Absolutely. So my favorite part of the law journey was actually studying for the bar. It was that 8 to 10 weeks. I know, right? It sounds insane, but studying for the bar wasn't as bad as sitting for the bar, right? Like the 8 or 10 weeks or whatever that you spend studying, it's kind of like it's light work. It's the best course plan you ever get. Do these outlines, read these outlines, answer these questions, write these essays. It couldn't be any more clean cut. Absolutely use a bar prep program. Whoever told you you don't need bar prep to study for the bar, I don't know who they are. They are absolutely God's strongest soldier. I do not believe that it is possible for an average person, and I am average, to, to succeed at the bar without bar prep materials. Please, please, please use a course. And if you can, get a tutor. I did not have a tutor on my first attempt. I just kind of I think I used Themis Bar Reviews program. I used their materials, studied, did everything I was supposed to do. I think I hit like 98% completion, right? And they say if you complete like 96%, you're
You go
supposed to
retake.
pass. Well, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania did me a little dirty on that first go round, or maybe I did myself dirty, however you want to chalk it. Point is, I missed the bar by 2 points.
Oh, snap.
And I knew at the end of the MBE day, so whatever, I guess that was day two, which is multiple choice. I knew at the end of the day, I was like, man, I know I just got that question wrong. Like, literally, as soon as I walked out of the test, I thought about the question again, and I said, this should have been the answer. And I said, I definitely filled in B, and the answer was C, or something like that. And I was kicking myself. And then when I got my score report and saw that I missed it by 2 points, I was salty. So I had to resit. I thankfully had a clerkship my first year out of law school. So I was clerking for a judge who was kind of gracious with the time, and it was close to home. So I could get in early, study early. This part I did not enjoy. I enjoyed the 8 weeks of straight study. Working and studying was hell on earth. That was unpleasant. I survived. But when I did get that score report, it was Easter weekend. So I guess it was like maybe it was like Good Friday or it was early April 2020. So it's the pandemic.
Right,
Nobody is
right.
really allowed anywhere. And for whatever reason, I have just been in the mood. This is gonna sound terrible. I wanted some ribs from Chili's. So I went to the Chili's down the street to get some ribs. And just as I was getting in my car, I got a text from my girlfriend who said, hey, bar results are out. I was like, oh, this is a week earlier than I expected. All right, cool. I opened it up, instant tears. Instant tears. Just couldn't, I saw my name and couldn't even get word. I just cried. I just cried. And of course, it's a lot of, LFG, like this is it, like let's go. This is what we did this for. We made it. And so that moment, you're right, there is nothing that you can compare that triumph to. That feeling of I did this thing, I knew I could do this thing, and then I killed it. Then I got that score report back and I beat the bar by like 11 points. And so it's like I went from missing it by 1 to killing it by 11. So that's to say you can do everything right. And when I did not pass, I'll say this: when I did not pass, I was hysterical for a weekend. I had a trip planned. I went on the trip anyway, but cried half the time I was there. And I just kept thinking to myself, if I couldn't do it and I did all that work, how am I going to be able to turn it around? And people kept telling me like, no, you missed about 1 point. That means you know the stuff. Like you missed about 2 points. You know the material. It's 2 points. It's not the end of the world. So you just work a little bit harder and you knock it out the second time. You work smarter too, right? That's what the tutor does for you. They help you work smarter. So you're not restudying stuff that you know really well. You're working on stuff you don't know so you can be stronger. So yeah, I have lots of thoughts on the bar exam, but ultimately, I don't think it's impossible for anybody. Now that everybody is going UBE, it's kind of weird. Now that the uniform bar exam is kind of taken over, I don't even know what to think of that. I did sit for the uniform bar exam twice and did not pass either of those times, but I was also working in the law firm, so I had billable hours to hit. I ain't gonna lie, I wasn't that worried about that dang exam.
Keep it P.
Right. I was worried about trying to hit my hours. I wasn't that worried about the exam because they weren't giving me, it wasn't like, oh no, you'll have a 4-hour credit for studying. They were like, no, hit your hours and study. It's like, that's kind of crazy.
And
So
for you guys out there, I hope what you get from this story is like those challenges that you go through, it's meant to grow you. Sis missed it by 1 and then killed it by 11. So whatever struggles you're going through, that could be the LSAT, trying to get into law school, or trying to get an internship. Clerkships is competitive, but the only way you're going to get to a yes is you have to go through the no's. You have to be able to get those no's and be able to figure out, what do I need to do to fine tune? What do I need to do to be better? There cannot be no growth without rejection. It sucks, it hurts, but because you go through that, boy, it makes you better in the long run.
And I was thinking about this earlier, right? There are far more of us. There are going to be a lot more people who don't make it than who do.
Right.
And that's because some people will opt out. Some people will self-select out. They'll just say, I don't want to. I'm tired. I can't. And if you choose to let yourself be a part of that number by choosing not to participate, by choosing not to push yourself, by choosing not to challenge yourself, that's your choice, right? And you can make that. And it doesn't necessarily make you a failure. But every time you get a rejection, just know it's also a part of that number, right? There has to be, for every 3 yeses, there have to be 12 nos. And so you just have to kind of endure them and push through each one. You're going to submit a lot of job applications before you get a job. And sometimes you have to get creative about telling yourself why this is perfect for you or why this works. But you just got to remember, all of it is about getting to where you need to be. I think that right now I am exactly where I need to be for my career development in terms of a job. I'm exactly where I need to be in terms of personal development, in terms of leadership and leading the barristers and all of the other organizations that I've participated in. I think that all of that is critical to wherever I'm going to be in 10 years. Now, y'all going to have to sit close and figure out what that is with me, because I don't know either. But wherever that is, I'm excited about what that trajectory looks like, not because I think I'm special, but because I think I'm taking advantage of every opportunity given to me. And when you do that, you're able to build something that you're going to be proud of no matter what.
And I think the thing that's amazing a lot of times is we are oftentimes our biggest critics. We oftentimes are the last people to see our own growth and transformation. To the point that you ever sometime go back and look at your old writings and be like, what the heck? I thought this was good. Like, what? Like,
was I ever going to make the point, or was I just going to write words?
Yeah.
I'm confused.
And so a lot of times we are our biggest critic. And sometimes I tell people we got to give ourselves grace and understand it's a process. And oftentimes, they say the thief of joy is comparison. And we're not realizing the struggles, the trials that they overcame. Oftentimes we just see the final product, not realizing the process they had to undergo to get there. I see somebody in the chat over here trying to shoot their shot at you, sis, to try to be a mentee. I'm going to let you drop it right there. Shawty said, LOL.
I'm always accepting all mentees, and I'm also always accepting all mentors. I was just telling a friend today that, like, I feel like where I'm at in my career, I need somebody new in the rotation. I don't know what I need quite yet, but I need somebody new in the rotation. If you're interested in being a mentee, you can hit me. Like, you can just DM me for now, because we're on Instagram and I'm on my phone. It's a small screen. Don't make me work that hard. Hit my DMs. Hit my DMs, and we can connect. Happy to talk to anybody at any stage of this journey, any kind of decision making. Like, I am not I'm not one who's ever going to be disappointed in you. I will just let you know that you could do better. And
Oh,
that's okay. I'm not disappointed in you. Like you have potential. And if you have potential, you have to do your best to meet it and to exceed it. So that's what I've got. But yeah, please don't be shy about reaching out. If anyone is ever going to be in the Philly area, if you're visiting Philadelphia area law schools, if you want some input on that, or you want somebody to coach you through the differences between the Philly area law schools, I'm
mm-hmm.
here on the ground. I could tell you about the attitudes and the opinions of the students. Happy to weigh in on that too. Shout out to our local Balsas. They're very active in the Mid-Atlantic Balsa. So if you do go to law school, please get involved with your Balsa. It gives you a home in an environment that may not always be friendly. So I'm a huge advocate for Balsa. I'm a huge advocate for your local Black bar associations. Like, do what you got to do. Find you some people and stick close to them, because you never know when you're going to need that safe space.
Speaking of, because one of the things we want to talk about law schools, and of course, I definitely want, that's some other stuff I want to ask you about too, is like you said, Villanova was Vanilla Nova, is that what you say, right?
Yep.
And so one of the things I love having an opportunity to really try to preach out to students is there are 197, ABA accredited law schools. We got our chocolate cities. We know what they are. And I call those our security blankets. But, one thing about these PWI law schools is, of course, they cut checks. But oftentimes the fear or concern that a lot of students may have is this a good place? Is it a
Mm-hmm.
place where I'm going to feel welcome? And so when you went through that process of trying to find or balance your schools, what advice would you give people out there? Like my man over here said, Delaware over here. What advice would you give law students when trying to find schools with PWIs? What do they need to look for to be like, okay, I'm going to be one of you, but this is cool. I could deal with it here.
I think you want to talk to students if you can. I would, if you can, reach out. Before I went to Villanova, I called the admissions office and I said, I want to talk to the president of your BALSA. Like, I want to talk to her. And it just so happened. I mean, now she's a good friend of mine. She serves on my executive board. But she was also an alum of my undergrad alma mater. So we had an extra connection there, which I went to Lincoln University, LU, go team. Um, so she was also an alum of my alma mater, so we had an extra connection there, and I was able to talk to her. Like, real talk, sis, what am I getting into? If I show up at Villanova, how are they gonna do me? And so she was able to be honest with me and transparent about what that experience might look like, some of the things I could anticipate. Now, what she didn't know when she spoke to me at that time was that in November of 2016, Donald J. Trump would be elected president of these here United States of America. And when that happened, it did change the temperature at Villanova just a little bit. But Villanova is a Catholic institution, so they're committed to good, wholesome Christian values. You see what I'm saying? So it changed their energy. They were still very vibrant, still very optimistic, still kind of pushing and challenging status quo.
Hold on, side
Um,
question.
yeah.
How was, because for you guys out there, con law is the most uncomfortable class, period. You was in con law during his first, when he was first appointed. It was weird when I was in law school having to go through con law. How was that experience? I'm sorry, I just had to ask that when you dropped that Trump nugget.
There are definitely moments, like not just in con law, in criminal law, in torts. Honestly, the day after the election, I had torts at 8 o'clock in the morning. One of my classmates came in wearing a MAGA hat and wouldn't take it off. The professor had to say, "No, sir, please stay a while. Take your hat off." And he protested and said, "No, I won't." And she said, "No, no, no. You gonna take that hat off in my class. Take it off." But it definitely led to some very interesting conversations, and it told you a lot about where your professor stood too.
Yeah.
So there were definitely some professors, so I was like, oh, I wish I didn't have to sit through this. But here we are, and you don't get a lot of choice, right? Especially that first year, you don't get a lot of choice in your instructors. So you tough it out. But it definitely it made it easier. I say this about the state of Virginia or the Commonwealth of Virginia. There are friendly folks, especially when we're talking about them. Some of them are real friendly and they go out of their way to let you know that they're friendly. And then the ones who aren't friendly go out of their way to make sure you know this is not a safe space. And it's nice because you always know exactly who you can stand close to. And I think at Villanova, that's what it did. It made it very clear who was friendly and who was not. The Federalist Society was very, very popular amongst some of my peers. And I just knew that those weren't really my friends. Like, those weren't my safe space. I didn't know anything about a Federalist Society before law school. I found out.
That they weren't going to be coming to the cookout. They weren't about to get an invitation.
They ain't coming to no Boston meeting. They don't care how good the food is. They ain't in it. They ain't in
They
it.
said give them their mayonnaise, raisins, and potato salad.
Apple pie and baseball. That's all they want. Apple pie and baseball. Keep it America. That's what they like.
Now, for most of us, growing up, our initial exposure to law, I would say, let's be honest, was Law and Order and watching Judge Judy and maybe, family, friends who may have had interactions with the law. Mm-hmm. And so when we go into law school, we really don't know what type of law we want to practice. When did you get to the point after passing the bar when you were able to get a clear idea of what you wanted to practice? Because you ain't doing crime, you ain't in court. So hold on, how we get here, sis?
So I've always liked direct client interaction. So I participated I did an externship my 3L year that, like, my entire job in my externship was working with clients every day, just day-to-day interaction. And that let me know that I really do love the part where I get to translate the law into something that makes sense to an everyday person just trying to figure out, what do I do next? Like, I'm breaking it down into baby steps. You do this, and then you do this, and you're going to go here, and you're going to call these people, and this is exactly what you're going to say. I enjoyed the counseling side of it. So I always knew that I wanted to work incredibly closely with my clients. I thought I wanted to be a family lawyer, but there aren't a lot of jobs with security that offer that, right? There aren't a lot of firms that hire family lawyers. So there wasn't really that opportunity, especially as a baby lawyer with no experience. There's no way to argue that. You could go work for the government, but I needed to make a little bit more money than that because I had my little brother living with me, so I needed a little bit more money. And so I just took jobs. I took 2 jobs at 2 different firms, kind of in, one after the other, that I was like, okay, this will give me a little bit of litigation experience. That'll make me a more trusted advisor, right? I know something about litigation. And then I took a corporate, I guess it was a corporate associate. So I was working with clients directly, but my clients were mostly small business owners or fairly large, medium-sized business owners. I'm advising them on the regular. And then I was able to say, okay, look, I've advised the businesses this way. I'd love to work with internal clients. So now I'm advising HR. I'm advising the business team. I'm advising sales. I'm advising accounting. And I'm telling them what I think we should do from a legal standpoint in order to best insulate ourselves. And that's how I got here. But all of it for me was just knowing that the one thing that I loved more than anything was working directly with my client. And that was always kind of my guidepost. How does this role let me serve as an advisor?
Wow. I think for everybody out there now, you know what a general counsel is. I loved it. I love how you broke it down. Now, one of the things I want to ask is, one of the things I really try to harp on people is the importance of stepping out of their comfort zone. And I love the fact when you shared the story about your mom pretty much kicked your butt out the comfort zone, said, go on, girl, get on out. I mean, from jump, she had you up in Missouri. She had you up in Philadelphia. What would you say to people who are reluctant to step out of their comfort zone? Because I think a lot of reasons, so many reasons of why our journey to becoming attorneys is hard is because of our own self-inflicted refusal to do things that are not comfortable. How was that for you, stepping out of your comfort zone? And what advice would you give to some people who are kind of scared?
I think first you acknowledge that you are scared, right? Don't be quick. A lot of times we're quick to just say, no, I'm not doing that. And we don't even take the time to check in and realize that it's because we're uncomfortable, because it makes us anxious, or because it makes us nervous. And I think the next question is always why.
Yeah.
You know, this thing makes me nervous. Okay, well, why does it make you nervous? Well, because they may not accept me. Okay, and what's the worst that happens if they don't accept you? What happens next? Walk me through the whole process. I was nervous. So I actually went to Lincoln in Pennsylvania. So
Okay.
not Lincoln, Missouri, Lincoln, Pennsylvania. But when I went to a PWI first for undergrad. I went to Temple for a year and I transferred, and I was terrified to transfer, terrified to go to Lincoln because I had been in very diverse academic environments coming up, hadn't really experienced being around a whole lot of Black kids. I just hadn't. That had not been my story. So this would be the first time I was in a predominantly Black educational environment since like third grade. And I
Wow.
thought, they are not going to want, like this HBCU, I am not fly enough to hang out with the fly girls at the, have you seen the modeling teams at these HBCUs? Okay, I was like, I am not fly enough to hang out with the girls. I am not that cool. But I kind of had to walk through that same thought process because I know I wanted to go to law school, so I had to save money in terms of loans because if I needed to borrow money for law school, I needed to have it available. And
Yeah.
back then, you could cap, right? You max out. So I was trying not to max out on loans and just thinking about money overall. And I said, okay, this transfer is good for me financially because I can't afford to stay at Temple. I'm going to do this transfer. And when I transfer, I'm going into the honors program. So I'm going in already as like the super smart kid. That's a little awkward because now they may not. One, you're coming in as the Black
Yeah.
girl, you know, as the not the Black girl, but the Black girl who hasn't always been around Black people. So I got a little, you know, I don't want to say I'm a little too proper, right, by our standards. So I got that going on, and then I'm in the honors program. Oh, she thinks she's something special,
And she's smart.
whatever, and she a transfer. Oh, she thinks she's special, and so I was worried about that. And I had to force myself to walk through it. Okay, what's the worst that happens if they don't accept me? It's a couple thousand people. I'll find other people who do.
Mm,
I'll keep looking. And I'm not stopping until you do.
I love it.
And I think you start asking yourself those whys, and when you find out that really the crux of your why is because it's trauma, like it's rooted in some past experience where things didn't work out. Okay, well, this isn't that, is the answer
Mm.
to that. This is a new experience. This is not that place. And then if it's, oh, well, what if they don't accept me or these people just may not like me? I'm going to keep working until I find people who like me. And I'm going to be so great that I'm going to be undeniable. You can't not like me. I'm too friendly. I'm too fun. I'm too enjoyable to be around. And on top of all that, I get done. So I'm a good time and I handle business. Who doesn't want you around? Everybody wants that person around. And I think that's the answer. Like when you're feeling uncomfortable, ask yourself all those questions and figure out which one of those is really your answer. Give yourself a little pep talk and do it.
And get out of your own way. That's beautiful.
Absolutely.
I was watching this. I love watching HBO Max's show called Neighbors, where it's
Hmm.
like crazy neighbors on there attacking each other. And one of them was a pastor, and the pastor got a sermon, and he said, if you love your neighbor, even when they hate you, they're gonna stop hating you because how can you hate someone who loves you? And
Hmm.
I was like, wow. And then you just said that. It's just beautiful. And so, sis, we said we wanted to be a lawyer. We said we were part of the can't get back crew. We can't go back. We go through. We overcome challenges. We end up finding our niche, and then we become president. Where was that in your goal plan? How that works, sis?
So my older brother, like I said, is a lawyer here in the city. He's been a lawyer in Philadelphia since 2020, since 2004. So over 20 years, right? He was president of the barristers a while ago, um, more than 10 or 15 years ago, when I was in middle school. And
Wow,
we came out here to visit him. And that was the first time that I had seen a room full of Black lawyers, right?
that is
So
so.
remember, the only lawyers I know really are Black lawyers
That's
until I
beautiful.
get to law school. He had been
Hold on,
president of this.
funny.
Go ahead.
So you went to law school. So white people are lawyers too. Oh, nice to meet y'all. Let me.
I'm not gonna lie, I got a lot of Black privilege. I do. I live in my world is so black all the time. My church was really black,
I
and
love
a
it.
lot of people there were educated. And so, even though my family wasn't educated, I saw black excellence in front of me. I knew what that looked like. And so, I never really questioned whether or not I could do those
I
things.
love
And
that.
I sometimes take for granted that it gave me that opportunity where there's no place in my mind where I would think black people couldn't go to college or couldn't achieve. You absolutely can. You need some opportunity. You need a little bit of help. You need some, you might need a couple of hands up, but you can absolutely do it.
That-
I don't believe in us not being able to. So my older brother had been president of the barristers. That was my intro to the organization. I came out here when he was given the Outstanding Young Lawyers Award at our annual Martin Luther King breakfast. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. It's like 300 black educated folks in here. And the mayor is here. Like the mayor is sitting at the table with my family. And so I thought that was so cool, and always said that when I enrolled in law school, if I was in Philadelphia, I was going to get involved with the barristers. So I did, and stayed involved. After a couple of years, I was approached by our president 2 years ago, who was like, "Hey, I need a corresponding secretary." I said, "That's a sucky job. No one wants to be corresponding secretary of any board, right? No one does because it's a hard job." I said, "But fine, I'll take it." You need help. I'm happy to help. Let me contribute where I can. So I'm corresponding secretary. At the end of that year, we ended up in a power vacuum, and it was like, okay, who's going to be the next president? Uh, Samantha, you should run for president elect. And so it was really promotion by my peers more than anything. It was a passion for the organization, of course, a determination to deliver excellence as often as I could. But it was really just me doing it because I loved the organization, not for any particular reason. I wasn't gunning for the presidency. I was like, oh, maybe I'll be president 2 or 3 years from now. And they were like, actually, now's a good time. So go ahead, do it
oh,
now. And so sometimes you just got to listen when others are pushing you to do it. Sometimes it's just the right time, and God knows best because I agreed to be president this year. I started this job in August that allows me to be fully remote and have some more flexibility in my schedule, which is what I need in order to accommodate the demands of the presidency. And so it all fell into place. So when you feel that nudge, when you hear someone saying, "Oh, you should, it's your time," pray on it, think on it, because maybe somebody's trying to set you up. But I think more likely than not, it's God telling you now's the time and you should go ahead and take your shot.
and I think the beautiful thing about it is when you put in the work, your character speaks for itself. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
nothing more rewarding when you do not have to speak up for yourself. Your work is speaking for you. And when people
Yeah.
are advocating for you, that means that it says that you are the manifestation of what they're looking for. And that's beautiful. Now, of course, we get to this place having to overcome a lot, having to sacrifice a lot, and having a lot of those conversations with ourselves in the mirror, on our knees, crying, praying to God. We go through these ups and downs, and it's a constant roller coaster. And I know, you got your roots in the church. I'm from the South, so I got my roots in the church. Wednesday is Wednesday night Bible study. So I always love to end my episodes with you guys giving a word of encouragement because we know at this stage, from our own personal journeys, it's hard. I think
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that you said that was so true is like when you get a yes, that means so many other people didn't. When
Mm-hmm.
we made it past first semester, and somebody else got dismissed. When
Yep.
we got our LSAT scores, somebody got horrible. When we got our acceptances, a whole lot of people got rejected. And
Mm-hmm.
in that space, I feel like when you are that person that gets that no, when you are that person that gets rejected, when you are that person that has to wait your turn for things to happen, we oftentimes need words of encouragement to push forward. And so I'm going to be
Yeah.
quiet and I'm going to allow you to go ahead and give them the sermon that they may have missed at Bible study tonight.
The message is this: it is always darkest just before dawn, and the sun always comes up again. So in the darkest, scariest, most terrifying, most challenging moments, it is only because you are just short of that breakthrough, right? And it's the church cliche, but it's so true. When you're looking for a job and you think you got it, you think you're almost there, and then they say no, thank you. That's because you're just so close now. That instant depression that hits because we experienced it,
Yeah.
right? That sadness that hits because I didn't get this opportunity, I didn't get into the school, I didn't get the score I wanted. That sadness that has to happen because you wouldn't have the vigor that you need to make it through the sunrise of the next day without it. The score may not be perfect, but it's going to be perfect for the school you're supposed to go to. It's trusting that there is a plan greater than yours. I tell folks this all the time. You ain't got to believe in the God I believe in for me to believe that you got a God. But something has to be bigger than you. You have to rely on something outside of yourself. I think that belief that there's a plan that is greater than what I can see is really the thing that lets us be sane. We kind of have, even if you say it's the universe and the stars and whatever your version of that thing is, lean on that. Remember that just because you don't see the whole plan doesn't mean that there isn't a plan. The next thing is coming. You have to put one foot in front of the other. So keep going. That's the message.
Amen. And amen.
Amen.
And for you guys out there, I just want to encourage you that on this journey, there are times where you may feel like you're alone. But understand that isolation is something that's self-imposed. You have a whole community, like she said, we have the barristers in Philadelphia. There's so many other organizations, the Black Bar Associations all over the country. We got bosses. And of course, we got this thing called Instagram, because where you can shoot your shot and talk to lawyers, talk to law students, talk to judges who've been where you are. They're not going to curse you out if you reach out to them. They're not going to go off on you because we love to talk. And also, one of the things is we remember where we were in those same situations. So please go ahead.
One more thing, Deshaun. I saw you said something about Wilmington, Delaware. There is a Delaware barristers organization. I'm going to be speaking to the graduating 3Ls at Widener Law School on the 4th. So if you reach out to me, maybe we can set up a way for you to come and tag along with me for that or something like that. But give me a shout. Sorry, just wanted to say that before I forgot.
See? And my boy, you better do it. I'm going to check to make sure you do it. And so you have a community, you guys, and we're all praying for you, rooting for you, wanting you to win. When we enter into spaces, we count how many of us we see. We want to count more. And the only way we're able to count more is by you pushing through and breaking through. So we're praying for you. We're rooting for you. Sis, thank you so much for joining
Absolutely. Thank you
us.
for having me.
And I'm going to be in Philly, and I'm definitely going to make sure I come and holler at you.
Hey, come on, let's go.
All right, peace and blessings, you guys, and we'll see you same time next week. Continue to fight for your lawyer dreams. We're rooting for you. We're praying for you. Peace.
Peace.